Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Retro Refix. And on this week's episode, we're going to RGH hack this Xbox 360 with just a USB stick and 2 wires. So stick about, I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So here we are. This is the Xbox we picked up off eBay to be able to do this job. You can see that the power light's flashing away there because the disk drive is faulty. Oh, we're going into the mode, but we're doing the bad update at the moment. So as soon as that pops up, we've got us Nand, we can proceed. So finally, after 27 attempts, it finally did it. Here we are in the RGH menu now, and we're going for simple NAND-flasher. We'll fire that up. Just take a second. Yep, there we go. And press X to dump. So we're going to dump as NAND. Dump. Let's see if we get any bad blocks out of this one, because we did out of the other one, didn't we? Let's have a look. Sorry about me wobbling the camera around, but I ain't got it on a stand at the minute. So I'm just going to pause it until it gets closer. So there you go, we've done. So I'm going to redo that again, so we've got 2 dumps. And then I'm going to go over to the JRunner and get this patched up into as custom NAND. So we can then go ahead and put the 2 wires in for the RGH3 mod. So what I've done here is I've copied the 2 NANDs into the source and into the extra. It automatically just picked up the CPU key for me. I've done nothing else except for click on the create XE build and made sure that as kernel is set to 17559 and the RGH3 is ticked. So I've done that, as you can see up there. You can see it's a Trinity board as well. Okay. And then all you do is you take it back to your simple NAND-flasher on your USB stick and copy that update.bin to the USB stick and then put it back into the Xbox. So we're back here, look, ignore that flashing light, the DVD drive is knackered. So we're back with the USB stick back in there. I've already started the RGH menu up, and as you can see at the bottom, do you want to flash your NAND with RAW v5? Do you want to safe flash your NAND with RAW v5 dump and write? Well, we don't need to do that because we've already dumped it. Press X if you want to dump your NAND with RAW v1. So we're going to write that NAND back to the console, and it is going to brick the console. So I'm going to do that now so you can take a look. So we need to press A to do a RAW flash. Go. Press start to flash, or press anything else. I'm going to press start. So we're now writing as NAND back to the console, as hacked NAND back to the console. As I said, it will brick it because we haven't got the wires installed. But don't worry about that. So it's going to reboot and then it's going to be bricked. Are you ready? 4, 3, 2, 1. You ready? We're going to shut down now. Boosh! So they'll probably come up with a red light now, if anything at all. We're firing up. And yeah, as suspected, it's now bricked. And that's all we've got on the screen. We have got nothing, because it is now a brick. Just remember guys, if you're doing this yourself, you need to make sure that you've got a Nand-x. Just in case it does go pear-shaped, and you can rewrite the NAND to the motherboard manually like we used to do before, but otherwise if you get to this stage and you don't do your wires and it doesn't work, then you're absolutely screwed. So it is only a chance, but hey ho, we've got there in the end. We've now got an RGH NAND Xbox 360 that just needs its wires installing. So let's go and do that now. So okay, we've got us flash NAND. It doesn't work anymore, it just gives us a red light on there because it's bricked, because it's got hack firmware on there and we need to put the wires in. So yeah, so I'm just going to go into a little bit of a montage and get this thing stripped down. It doesn't take long at all, as you'll see. So let's do that now. All you need for screwdrivers on that is a T10 and a T8 and a little screwdriver which you saw me poking in the little gaps there. So all the screws are out now, so we can just simply take this apart, get us down to the motherboard. So let's do that. Right, okay, so we're down to just the heatsink. We're going to have to take this off and give it a good clean anyway, because it's going to be probably dry under there unless somebody's already done it. This console has been opened before, so I don't know what I'm going to find underneath there. I do have an X-clamp removal tool somewhere buried in my tools of things that I put away about 15 years ago. I've not been able to find it yet, but I will in the future. But what I normally do is just take a screwdriver, and you can just go inside there like that and then just twist and it pops up. So it's only a little tiny screwdriver is this one, I don't know whether you can see that. So we'll do that again in there and let's see if this one pops off easier as well. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. There you go, look. So it's literally off now. You just wiggle that one and that comes off. This will have a wire on it also if I solve that. Let's pull that wire off. And we can lift that off. No, it's got the original thermal paste, so we'll give that a good clean. And that board looks disgusting as well, so I'm going to go and brush that and then I'll be back. So I've got some cotton buds, I've got some isopropyl alcohol just here. I'm just going to give that a good clean off. So yeah, what we need to do now all that's cleaned up and done, we need to get the RGH wires installed on the back. I'll show the points in a minute. What I'm going to do on this occasion is install a quick install board. So you just solder the 2 points, there's 3 on there but one's just to hold it in place. The one down but I have the 2 little pads, that just holds it in place just to steady it. You can see it is quite tiny, is that. And you can see them with the 2 little pads up there. Well, on the Trinity you install a 1 or a 10k resistor. So we've got some 1s, we've got some 10s up there with these other boards. I like to put on a 5.1, which I've put in all Trinities and they all seem to work okay. I just thought, you know, 1 to 10, so pick 5. in the middle and it seems to work well. But we'll see how that goes on, and we'll see if we can get it to boot with the 5 on, and if not, then we'll have to wipe that off, that quick install board, and put a lower one on. We'll try a 3 then, but we'll just see what happens first. So yeah, so I'm going to show you now the points that I'm going to be soldering to need to be cleaned up. So I'm going to go under the microscope for that, but I'll show you then. So that's roughly where the QSB board installs. So we've got to solder it to that point up there. As I said before, that's just to steady it in place, and we have to scratch off the conformal coating down here and get a solder blob on down there. You'll see how tiny that is. I don't know whether you can see on camera or not. I'll try and adjust it for you, bear with me. So unfortunately that's my max zoom, but if you can see them little dots here that run out up there, there's another one just there. It's just underneath that number under there. Let's move it that way, you'll see. So it's generally around about there. So you normally get R.3, or it's just under the 3. But my pins are in it now at the moment. So we need to take the conformal coating off the top there and get some solder on before we even try and attach this little QSB board. So yeah, normally where you see it is in between the 3 and the 5, but this printing on this board is slightly over to the right. So you can see the 2 dots right there, and that one, move it our way. So we're wanting that. So what we need to do is scrape the top of that point so it's nice and shiny, so we can get some solder on it. There you go, look, you see copper coming off? All we need to do, just gently just rub against it, just so copper's exposed. And do the same bottom part down there, look. If you can get some out of the middle, great. If you can't, it doesn't really matter as much. But yeah, we could do it. Cleaning out as best you can. It's quite difficult to use tiny tweezers in this little tiny area. It's looking good, isn't it? A little bit of isopropyl alcohol and we can clean that bit off. That's it, we've got a blob. Right, let's move down to another point that we need to do now. Got a fresh bit of solder on. Wants to be there, I think. Let's have a look down at the bottom. No, that's not looking too bad, is it? I'm going to try and stick that down there. There, like that. Will it work? I think that's got it. I'll go back over it and have a look in a minute. So there's the other point that we want goes up there. Let's see if we can get that on as well. And then there's the other point. So that should be as points. So let's see if we can clean up a little bit better. And then we'll try and get this resistor on now. Yeah, this is going to be fun. I think what I'm going to do is put a bit of solder on one pad first. Right, so these things are absolutely miniature. Holy moly! I can hardly see it. Can I pick it up? Am I going to get it on there? I just wondered what that was. A bit strange, but hey on. So without doing the QSB board, you would just solder your wire and your resistor in your wire into that point there. And then you'd run that down to the other point, which we'll come to in a second. And without this QSB board, you would solder your wire to there. We have now got us QSB, so we have got these post and PLL points. So as PLL point was down the bottom, where have you gone? Where have you gone? Where have you gone? There you go. That's the PLL point. And that one at the top there was your post point. So we now have two pads that we can solder as wires to a little bit easier. So what we're going to take first is we're going to go over to the post point and we shall solder a bit of wire to the post point and back to this quick install board. Okay, so our other point is just above the R and the 2, which is for the post, which is, when I find it, on that one. So I'm just going to put a blob of solder on there, just so we can solder his wire to it a little bit easier. So that's our post point. These are very, very tiny and very delicate areas, so I'm trying to be very careful when I'm going in with the iron, not to nudge anything else, as you can see me dithering around anyway. Well, there we go, we've got a lovely big blob on top of that post point now. And for our point, which is right down here, so this will be for our PLL point, secondary point. You would normally put a resistor in the wire, inside the wire, and run that down there if you're not using a quick install board. That's why we installed the little resistor on the other one. So I'm just going to put a tiny little blob of solder in here, just so it can have something else to bond to when we use his wire. Time to prepare his wires. Right, so I've got two bits of wire. I've got a nice little long piece here that we're going to run from the PLL point up there. So that's going to run from down there, and it's going to run right down here to his FTV or FT2V1 point down here. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit long, we can lose that bit of wire. And our other piece of wire that we need normally would have gone straight from that point up there with the without the QSB and comes down to the point on here. But this has now got a little wire that's going to need to go from there to the little post pad on the QSB. So we put microscope back down and we'll get them wires soldered in. So that's both of his points in now. I'm hoping we've caught that all on camera. So we can just give that a bit of a clean up around here. Clean that point. We can do that a bit of a clean down here. Right, okay, that's his wires in. That's his QSB soldered up there. That went in really well, that. You know, I said previously that I've never used one of those QSBs. And to be honest, it's a bit of a farce. You don't really need it. You can run that wire straight across to that point anyway. And you can run that wire straight down to that point there anyway. Yeah, it does look a little bit tidier, but that's about it. So if you don't want to bother going out and buying the cost and buying them little resistors and installing that tiny little resistor on there, you can put a resistor into this wire. It doesn't matter where it is, whether it's up there, down here, I personally wouldn't put a resistor leg onto that point, you'll break it off. Don't ever put a resistor onto a solder point on here. Put the resistor in the wire and solder the wire to the point. We've all done silly little things like that in the past and we've lived to regret it. So that's just a little tip from myself. It does show you when you look at the RGH3 that somebody's got a surface mount resistor there and that wire's soldered to the surface mount. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do it up here and put a bit of shrink wrap around it or something like that so it's out of the way, so it ain't got a solid mount, something that you can knock off and break them tiny little pads off. Because they are. They're minute. You know, I mean, a ballpoint pen and show you in comparison to a ballpoint pen how small them points are. And that's your ballpoint pen, look, so you can see how tiny they are. So fingers crossed, all we need to do now is put the heatsink back on, put the power connector in the front, power in the back, and the connector board on the front for the power supply and the eject, etc. And we can see whether this thing actually boots. And yeah, look, we haven't needed anything like a Pico or a Nand-x or anything to do this. It is a risk because if it does go wrong, you will need a Nand-x to reprogram it if it bricks it properly. So it is a chance to take, and it is possible to do with just a USB stick and 2 wires, really. So let's get that put back together and let's see what happens. Right, so it's all back together, well, kind of. Power board in the front, heatsink back on, power supply in, HDMI on, television on. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? Let's go for the eject buttons first, see if I can find that, see if it works. It's down, it's down here somewhere. Oh, what's that? Is that eject or power on? Oh, so we've got XL that's coming up. Awesome. That's great news, is that? Does it boot? See if it boots. That should be booting into normal dash now. Yay! It's got a flashy light on front because of this drive, and we know that disk drive is a little bit iffy. So in a minute I'm going to cut to us having a look at that disk drive and see whether it actually works or it doesn't. So just to check that it is working, this is his bad update USB stick. I'm not going to do the bad update, there's no need now. So we should be able to go to games, it should have XEX menu. So XEX menu should run nice and easy. It's asking me to sign into a profile, which was the bad update profile, which is fine. And you can see there, XEX menu is up and running. So let's get it back together and have a look at this DVD drive. Partially back together, still need to put screws in it, but let's see if this disk drive works. It actually ejected with the joystick rather than me pressing on the buttons on the front on there. But let's see if it'll read a disc. Fingers crossed. I did buy it with the disk drive faulty, and all I've done is RGH it, and disk drive seems to be working. So I don't know whether it was just a bad connection in the back from when somebody had it apart or not before, but it seems to eject now. So let's see if it reads some discs. I'm not going to be able to start this game up because it's going to ask me to install it and there's no hard drive, but it's just to show you that the disk drive is working. So I've got his GTA picture up there, look, that's just appeared, and we can start the game. So I don't know what the issue with the disk drive, but it seems to have fixed itself, which is a good do for me. So there you go guys, how to RGH an Xbox 360 with just a USB stick and 2 wires. That's all you need these days. But just remember, it is a risk when you're dumping that NAND. If you dump that NAND and it doesn't dump correctly, and you try and flash back, and it breaks your console, and your RGH doesn't work, you're going to have to use either a PicoFlasher or a Nand-x to be able to read these other things with Maximus. I'm not sure. I don't know, I've been out of it for a while. But there may be other things that you can use to read it as well. But you are going to need something more hardware based to be able to read that NAND if it bricks. But it is possible, and I've done it, you've seen it on this video. I have not used a Nand-x, I have not used anything to be able to read and write off the motherboard. We just used the bad update to get us CPU key and as NAND files. We created as exploited NAND, wrote it back, put 2 wires on it and a QSB quick install board, which you don't really particularly need. It just adds more time to it, I think, personally. So yeah, I've got a few more of them QSBs and I'll probably just use them up and I won't bother anymore. So yeah, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, guys, please give me a thumbs up, drop me a comment, give it a sub. You know, it all helps the channel. We have got membership as well. I think the starts from 99 pence. If you want to join the YouTube membership, we are on Patreon as well. And if you want to come and join us in Discord, you are more than welcome to. All the links are in the description. Just come along, anybody can join Discord. We do live streams at the end of every month, which today is the 30th of March, and there's a live stream on tonight, and that's over at Josip Retro Bits channel. So I'll try and pop a link into the description for that one if I get the video done in time and out. But yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. And now you can RGH console with a USB stick and 2 wires.